Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Disturbing new information about melanoma shows that Black men are most at risk. We're going to bring that story to you this morning. Also, do you remember the scene from The Godfather when the U.S. Senator rudely speaks with Michael Corleone about a gaming license? And Corleone says to the senator, after a while, he goes, "Senator, I will give you my answer right now." And that answer is zero. And I'd appreciate it if you paid the gaming fee as well. I mean, it was a godfather of godfather moves. Now, President Biden is channeling his inner Michael Corleone, it seems, when it comes to his student loan debt forgiveness after the Supreme Court struck it down. We're going to tell you the president's bold new plan. I think if it goes through, you'll absolutely love it and understand that it is certainly a Michael Corleone moment. Also, a retired Memphis officer who spoke out against the police in Memphis, and of course, the officers who jumped and slaughtered Tyree Nichols, has apparently been killed in front of his home. We're going to bring you that information as well. And speaking of the White House and taking a page out of the previous administration's playbook, the Biden administration is threatening to revoke the hard pass or media credential from a journalist from Cameroon who has made a name for himself by interrupting White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre during press briefings. We will discuss that as well, and several other things, including, much to Power 96's delight or chagrin, Justice Clarence Thomas. And maybe that's where we start this morning. Justice Clarence Thomas. I'm looking at an item that is incredible. And Power 96 woke up this morning, obviously, with this on his mind. Several lawyers. Now, this is really, really interesting. Several lawyers who have had business before the Supreme Court, including one who successfully argued to end race-conscious admissions at universities, paid money to a top aide to Justice Thomas, according to the aide's Venmo account. His transactions appear from a 2019 Christmas party that Justice Thomas gave. The payments went to Rajan Vashisht, who served as Justice Thomas's aide from July of 2019 to July of 2021. And it seems to underscore the close business ties between Thomas and all of his ethics scandals that we've now been reporting on, and wealthy billionaire donors, and certain senior Washington lawyers who argue cases and have other businesses in front of the justice. That Venmo account, which was public, now, of course, because of these reports, has now gone dark. The amount of the payments were not disclosed, but the purpose of each payment is listed as either Christmas party, Thomas Christmas party, CT Christmas party, or CT Xmas party, in an apparent reference to Judge Thomas's initials. This guy, you gotta be, come on. What next, right? Power 96, what next with Clarence Thomas? He says Uncle Thomas was being paid via Cash App. He is a low budget sellout. What's next? And nothing can be done. Something must be done. They must be able to do something. Because not only now we're seeing not only these unethical transactions, but we are also seeing clear evidence that these individuals who are giving Justice Thomas this cash, these trips, et cetera, these gifts, well, they're arguing cases before him. He's not recusing himself, and he's voting, of course, in their favor, or deciding in their favor. Boy, oh boy. And the president said a couple of weeks ago, this is not a normal court. Not in the least bit. Power 96 said they should have paid Clarence Thomas in Confederate money. And Bobby Henry, the chair of the NNPA. What's up, Bobby? Bobby says Uncle Clarence is not the only one. Right. Because then we just do a report a couple of weeks ago, Justice Alito, others, right? So the court is, when you say the court is tainted, it's an understatement at this point. Even on the allegations alone, the it's tainted. But we're seeing tangible evidence of this behavior. So yeah, it is not a normal court, as the president has said. Right now, they are untouchable. Those nine justices are untouchable. It's a lifetime position. They are set. They're not only setting legal precedent, but they are also setting. They pretty much are what they saying, legislating from the bench. That's where the U.S. Supreme Court is now. This morning, retired Memphis homicide detective Mark LaSure, who was found dead in front of his home Sunday morning, is the detective who has been outspoken in the Memphis police scandal, particularly that involving the death of Tyree Nichols, with those five officers who were immediately arrested. He has been extremely outspoken, but police said that they are not yet releasing the cause of death, but one report said it was blunt force trauma. He had criticized the department and retired after, apparently, from various reports, he had complained about too much of this type of behavior in that department. He was 57 years old. Mark LaSure was in the driveway, according to a report. He was in the driveway with his face found in his driveway, lying face down on the pavement when he was found. His aunt, Rose LaSure Jones, said to TV reporters, she says, whatever it was, he didn't deserve this. He really didn't. He was a good guy, one of the good guys. The Memphis department confirmed that LaSure's body was found in his front yard, although they still have not released the cause of death. He was a 24-year veteran, and he had been outspoken, as we said, after the death of Tyree Nichols and other incidents within the Memphis Police Department. He said, I was looking at Bobby. Bobby Hemming said, what about the woman who is accused of robbing the dead retired Memphis officer? Power 96 says, I am going to say the quiet part out loud. The Memphis Police Department killed him. After Tyree Nichols' beating death and the way that the officers treated him, LaSure said that he complained. He says, human beings, man. He said human beings, they let their emotions get the best of them, talking about the five officers, and there was no veteran officer there to stop them. Usually when vets are there, things go differently because we have that experience to say, I understand you're mad, but you got to stop. You can't do this. It isn't right. Wow. The body cam video released by the department at that time, it showed Tyree Nichols being chased, kicked, and beaten as he shouted for his mother, who lived nearby. So this Officer LaSure, Detective LaSure, seems to have lost his life because of, apparently, we don't know all the details, but apparently his being so outspoken had something to do with it. He was remembered by friends and family as a kind and devoted community member who mentored young people and encouraged them and his relatives to be better people. This morning, also disturbing new information for Black men. It says that Black men are at a higher risk of death from melanoma than other racial groups. And this is according to a study that was published this week in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology. Across 205,125 cases of male patients diagnosed with the invasive melanoma from 2004 to 2018, tracked by the National Cancer Database, the 5-year survival rate was the lowest for Black men at 51.7%. Now get this, the rate of survival was the highest for white men at 75.1% compared to the other racial groups in the study. White men are more likely to get melanoma according to the CDC, but Black people have a 26% higher risk of death from melanoma than the white population. Cutaneous melanoma, a form of cancer that begins in pigment producing cells, is the most aggressive and fatal form of skin cancer, according to the National Library of Medicine. So while gender and race are both predictors of survival in cutaneous melanoma, less is known about the role race plays specifically among men. That is why the study was explored. They also mentioned that Black women are also susceptible to this situation, to this illness, which could lead to, unfortunately, death. Ashley Whitesong, who is the chair of the Department of Dermatology at the University of Nebraska Medical Center and a co-author of the study, says that even after accounting for later stages at diagnosis, men still have worse overall survival rates than women with melanoma. So we suspect that there are some unmeasured social genetic tumor specific and potentially biological factors at play, such as hormones and the way the immune system responds to melanoma tumors. She said patients with darker skin often mistake their cancer for other skin conditions, which can also delay care and definitive treatment. Racial disparities, of course, have put Black patients at a disadvantage for years, with racial bias a major factor. We know Black women can't have babies today without fear of the maternal mortality rate. And now we have this. We had COVID, which disproportionately affected African Americans. Everything disproportionately affects us. I got to really learn that word a lot since being in this profession 30 years ago. Disproportionate. Power 96 says, well, I learned something today. I learned something too when I came across this study and reported on it. You can read about this, at least my report, in the Washington Informer and various newspapers throughout the Black Flash family of more than 230 owned newspapers and media companies. Well, remember the Godfather scene I talked about a while ago? Boy, Michael Corleone told that senator, he said, Senator, you're going to have my answer now. And it is zero. There's the scene. It says, you're going to pay this gaming fee. Well, guess what? President Biden, he's channeling Michael Corleone when it comes to his student debt forgiveness after the Supreme Court struck it down. The Biden administration calls it a student loan safety net. Opponents, though, say it's a backdoor attempt to make college free. And it could be the next battleground in the legal fight over student loan relief. Starting this summer, millions of Americans with student loans will be able to enroll in a new repayment plan that offers some of the most lenient terms ever. Interest won't pile up as long as borrowers make regular payments. So you say, yeah, okay, that's get to the point, right? Millions of people, get this, will have monthly payments reduced to $0. And in as little as 10 years, any remaining debt will be canceled. It's known as the quote SAVE plan, capital SAVE. So here's the deal, folks. They're saying if you make your payments on your $0 payment on time, the rest of the debt will be forgiven in as little as 10 years. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems like it won't be too hard to make a $0 payment. $0. This plan has been mostly overshadowed because of the Supreme Court's waiting on the Supreme Court's decision and finally getting that decision. But now, after the court struck down Biden's forgiveness plan, the repayment option is taking center stage. Since the ruling, Biden has proposed an alternate approach to cancel debt and also shifted attention to the lesser known initiative, calling it the most affordable repayment plan ever. You think? The typical borrower who enrolls in the plan, he says, will save at least $1,000 a month. Republicans have fought against the plan, of course, saying it oversteps the president's authority. And Senator Bill Cassidy, the ranking Republican on the Health Education, Labor, and Pension Committee called it deeply unfair to the 87% of Americans who don't have student loans. Power 96 says, I don't have student loans, but this plan is gangster. I like it. It is. And that's the reference to Michael Corleone. The Congressional Budget Office previously estimated that over the next decade, the plan would cost about $230 billion, which would be even higher now that the forgiveness plan has been struck down. So here, once again, Biden's being the godfather. He's saying, look, y'all want to strike down that plan? It's going to cost you more, this plan. And he believes that he has the authority to do this. Estimates from researchers at the University of Pennsylvania put the cost at about $361 billion. Well, that's like they go in their right pocket to send that amount to Ukraine, right? So let's be real, folks. He's emboldened now. Biden feels emboldened by the Supreme Court's decision. While many were dismayed, the president said, you know what? I got something for you. I'll tell you what, they say with age comes wisdom. Biden is like 80 years old. And so he's like, you know what? I've been playing this game a long time. So here's what to know about the SAVE plan. So what is an income-driven repayment plan? The U.S. Department of Education offers several plans for repaying the federal student loans. Under the standard plan, borrowers are charged a fixed monthly amount that ensures all their debt will be repaid after 10 years. But if borrowers have difficulty paying that amount, they can enroll in one of 4 plans that offer lower monthly payments based on income and their family size. So it takes into account if you're a family of 4, family of 6, family of 1, it'll vary. Those are known as income-driven plans. Income-driven plans have been offered for years and generally cap monthly payments at 10% of a borrower's discretionary income. If his earnings are low enough, the bill is reduced to $0. And after 20 or 25 years, any remaining debt gets erased. So how is President Biden's plan different? As part of his debt relief plan that he announced last year, the Education Department creates a new income-driven repayment plan that lowers payments even further. It became known as the SAVE plan, and it's generally intended to replace existing income-driven plans. Borrowers will be able to apply this summer, as we stated, but some of the changes will be phased in over time. Right away, more people will be eligible for $0 payments. It won't require borrowers to make payments if they earn less than 225% of the federal poverty line, which is $32,800 a year for a single person. The cutoff for current plans, by contrast, is 150% of the poverty line, or $22,000 a year for a single person. Another immediate change seeks to prevent interest from snowballing. As long as borrowers make their monthly payments, their overall balance won't increase. Once they cover their adjusted monthly payment, even if it's $0, any remaining interest will be waived. This guy, Bobby Henry, says, that sounds great. However, what about the loan snarking that took place in the past? Who's going to pay for that? It's always something, Bobby Henry. It's always something. We will see. Maybe as gangster as the president is being right now, maybe he has a plan for that. So how do you apply? Let's get to that. Right? I know some want to know how they can apply. The Education Department says they will notify borrowers when the new application process launches this summer. Those enrolled in an existing plan known as Repay, with a Y at the end, will automatically be moved into the SAVE plan. That's, again, quite a move, right? Borrowers will also be able to sign up by contacting their loan servicers directly. Power 96 says, make Uncle Clarence Thomas pay for it. We love to see that, right? It's like making Mexico pay for the wall. Right? Power 96. Oh boy, there's a White House feud going on. There's a feud, I should say, in the White House that's been going on for months now. It's been escalating. And so what happened this week? The White House has issued a formal warning to Simon Atiba that he is at risk of losing his entry pass if he continues to disrupt press briefings. The warning, a first for President Biden's press office, followed run-ins between Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and the journalist from Cameroon who has interrupted her briefings to demand that he be recognized to ask a question. Jean-Pierre has declined to call on him for months and has repeatedly admonished him for speaking out of turn. Atiba is the owner of his news organization, and he's also the White House correspondent of Today News Africa. And he has portrayed himself as a victim of quote unquote racism and discrimination by the administration. But in an unsigned letter, the White House press office told Atiba that he was at risk of losing his hard pass. The hard pass is the credential that enables reporters to enter the White House grounds at will. If he continues to disrupt the briefings, that privilege will be taken away. The letter cited 6 episodes on 4 occasions since early December in which he interrupted or talked over other reporters to ask a question. He twice interrupted the March 20th briefing in which reporters got really upset at him for constantly interrupting. And we have spoken to the press secretary specifically about this in the past, and she has said that she does call on folks that she knows. If she doesn't know you, then chances are she's not going to call on you. However, she did say this: come up and get to know me. She says, I'm not hiding from anyone. So she's calling on folks. And, if you feel, if you're covering the White House, and the reporters there know this, if they feel that she's not calling on them, then it means that she doesn't know you for the most part. So go get to know this guy. I don't know if you folks, Power 96, I don't know if you've seen him. He says he's asking, is Simon related to Uncle Clarence? Who knows? But he has spoken when she's called on one. Part of the problem is he hasn't given her an opportunity to call on him. And so she's just, because of the implied rudeness, I should say, she's just continued to go on, maybe to CNN, to Fox, to this person, to that, to Post, et cetera, instead of Africa Today. You have to believe that she'd want to hear from him if he wasn't being, in their words, rude. And so they say ordinarily such shouting stops when a reporter is called on for a question and the briefing or event is able to continue. Continued interruptions are different. They prevent journalists from asking questions or administration officials and guests from responding. The letter to this journalist added that if you continue to impede briefings or events by shouting over your colleagues who have been called on for a question, even after you have been asked to stop by a White House employee, then your hard pass may be suspended or revoked following notice and an opportunity to respond. So basically, get yourself together, dude. You've come a long way to have your privileges revoked. So relax. She'll get to you. Go talk to her. Have a conversation with her. Have some coffee. Who wouldn't want to have coffee with Karine Jean-Pierre? And staying with the White House, yesterday marked a very historic day. Vice President Kamala Harris, who, of course, has already made so much history, shattering the glass ceiling as the first woman and first person of color to hold the position, has again etched her name into the annals of history. She equaled the record for the most tie-breaking votes ever cast by a vice president in the U.S. Senate. Harris's 31st tie-breaking vote propelled the nomination of Kalpana Kotegal to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The only vice president to accumulate such a significant number of tie-breaking votes was John C. Calhoun. He served from 1825 to 1832. But what's remarkable is that he served 8 years, and he accumulated that record over 8 years. It's been 2.5 years, and Kamala Harris has been able to equal that record, reflecting on her achievement Kamala Harris, the vice president, spoke to reporters and expressed her commitment to paving the way for others. She says, quote, "It is a moment, and I think that there is still much left that we have to do." She drew inspiration from a mother's advice, I should say, when she said that my mother gave me great advice, which is that I may be the first to do many things. I'm going to make sure I am not the last. So the vice president has the, and we all know why it is 31 tie-breaking votes, right? In most part because this is a very divided U.S. Senate, very divided U.S. Congress, with a narrow majority in the Senate to Democrats and narrow majority in the House, of course, to Republicans. Power 96 says, real talk. Vice President Harris is doing a great job. That's why the hate is so strong. You know what, Power 96, I tend to believe that she believes that, but she will probably never tell us. She'll tell us like 30 years from now in a book. that's when she'll tell us, right? But that's our headlines for this morning. Thanks for staying with us. We appreciate all of you, and we will be back at it again tomorrow with a very special interview live on site. We're in Washington, D.C., and we will be bringing you an interview from the True Reformer Building, the Public Welfare Foundation, and we'll talk about a plan that they have for young people this summer and summers to come. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.